Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's up, guys?
What's up, Hayden?
What's up, everyone? Man, it
All right.
feels nice to be introduced on a show again. Thank you very much.
So let's continue. All right, so where we leave
Okay,
off?
so we were kind of explaining, like, in the original version, like Hayden said, there was a way that Jedi could come back after being one. They did not go with that. That is not canon. The only way that a Jedi can, that we know of right now anyway, can come back, quote unquote, around come back, is if they project themselves as a Force ghost, which is basically their pure Force, just kind of with their consciousness projecting their physical body as a, basically is what we would describe a ghost. But they can't like physically come back and be like, okay, I'm back, I'm living another life or something.
Okay. So it's very temporary.
With matter?
What?
Can they interact with material objects around them?
Yes, because
So
in
Luke
return,
could, as a ghost, catch a lightsaber and ignite it.
Well,
they
look
can,
at Yoda.
apparently.
Yoda destroyed the tree, though.
Well, they somebody actually asked that question a long time ago, and the answer is actually in Return of the Jedi, because if you remember when Obi-Wan appears on Dagobah and he starts talking to Luke about what happened, he sits on a log.
Right.
Yeah.
So everybody, and that was the big question, like, why he's a ghost? Why does he need to sit? And it's basically like he just wanted to. He can. There's no real big explanation. It's just like, yes, they can.
Right.
Well, I mean, like, if a ghost was to catch a lightsaber, really, all you'd need is the force of that consciousness to really hold a lightsaber in place. And, even if it was invisible, the force could still use a lightsaber.
Because they can't grab it physically, but the force can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they would, at that point, though, they're so far beyond the need for a lightsaber that's why Yoda was so powerful in The Last Jedi, because he's literally, you know how they say when Jedi aren't their most powerful, they become one with the Force?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is beyond becoming one with the Force. You're literally the Force. So you can basically do anything. That's why when he did that, like, super Force lightning thing, when I was in the theater, I was like, yeah, pretty much any Force ghost could do that, because they're just that powerful.
I know, like, a lot of this stuff about Rise of Skywalker, like, there's a lot of fans, and, like, well, I think a lot of us are going, oh, my God, like, come on, this is ridiculous. But, like, I know when I hear this, I find this to be a very satisfying ending. Like, I think it's if what we're saying is on the money, I think it is a much more satisfying ending than another Death Star, another blowing up of the First Order. Like, there's only so many things you could do after The Last Jedi.
It just sounds to me too perfect, like it's not going to happen that way.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the execution.
If you go on the internet, like,
I
think like people whinge at everything. Like, they could give us everything we want, and there's so many, like, geeks and gamers on YouTube. Like, anything that's given to us, we go, this is the worst thing we've ever heard of. Like, it's so hard to please us now. Like, anything I think we'll get annoyed at. I can't see us being pleased with anything.
I don't know. I just think that we've seen everything that J.J. Abrams had in his tank. I don't know if he has enough in his tank to do this.
I think what we should probably do is, like, this is what I'm doing, at least. Like, I am worried about. I've always been worried about 9, and really, like, the stuff that I've heard has not quelled that fear. But right. I'm going in with a lot of caution, because a lot of stuff sound like with J.J. Abrams. This is where I agree with you, Joe. It's like a lot of stuff with him sounds good on paper. Yeah. But then when you actually see it play out, it's like, oh no. So it's
like Cloverfield. Oh shit.
So I'm going in with this idea that this could be good. Like, don't get me wrong. If they go in the end of the movie and they're like, yeah, there's a clone of Rey that's evil. If that's executed properly, that could be really interesting. But
it could be.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you read the lightsaber falling out of the hand from the sky? That was the worst thing I'd ever seen on paper. Yeah. That was, when I read that, I'm known as the guy who told everyone that was going to be in the movie. I get laughed at to this day.
Are you talking about The Force Awakens?
Force Awakens, the opening scene with the lightsaber falling out of the stars onto Jakku. It was Oh,
I gotta tell you though, I think that there's still a possibility that something like that could happen in this movie
can you imagine?
because I was talking to one of my friends about this, and I was like, they're reusing a lot of stuff that they didn't use in The Force Awakens in this movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if Rey is a clone, but she wasn't made from like Palpatine and Anakin? Like, what if she was made from like Palpatine and Luke, and they got the DNA from Luke's hand? Yeah. And I was like, oh no, like, what if they actually do that?
How fucking stupid is it though that we had like 4 Star Wars movies after Empire, and J.J. Abrams' first plan was to remind people of the end of Empire to reel them back in. It's like, just because it's the best Star Wars film doesn't mean we have to go to everyone. Hey, everyone, we remember Empire. That was the good one. We're going to respond to that movie. And it's like, no, there was 4 other movies that spoke to a lot of people, just not the collective. You know what I mean?
There were so many references, or supposed to be references, to Empire and The Force Awakens, because that scene where Rey touches the lightsaber and she has that flash thing, she was supposed to see a good amount of the duel between Luke and Vader.
Right.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
Bespin. And it was like, why? Like, what?
Well,
and then I was like, oh, because everybody has to remember this.
Yeah, that was so bad. I don't know if we've talked about it on this show. Actually, I think I've spoken to you about Joe heaps of time. By the way, why do you look like Doctor Strange today?
What?
You look like Doctor Strange in that outfit.
I don't know. I'm just I worked tonight. I'm tired. I just grabbed the hoodie and I'm just chilling.
You've even got the Eye of Agamotto chain on your neck.
I actually had that. Actually, I bought it for Joe. I gave it to him.
That's amazing. What was I saying? Yeah. So do you guys know about like the original leaks for Force Awakens, which hastily had the plot of the movie, and it was beat for beat correct when the movie came out. However, this came from Making Star Wars, by the way, and they're literally they nail everything usually.
Right.
The leak said that Leia's, because remember Leia had like 30 minutes cut out of the movie because Carrie Fisher's performance was like terrible. Like her acting was so bad they had to cut it out. Like she was so stale in The Force Awakens. Like if you think back to the movie, like
she was just like, yeah, I know, that was just weird.
Yeah, so like in the deleted scenes, there was a whole deleted subplot. The Resistance actually had a super weapon called the catapult. And this was the whole deleted subplot. And the whole thing was that on Hosnian Prime, the Senate and whatnot knew about the catapult, and they were communicating with Leia back and forth because they were going to use the catapult to destroy the Starkiller base. But they cut all the scenes out. So all we were left with were the scenes where she meets Han again, etc. But Leia was supposed to come in at the start of the movie, like trying to ramp up this super weapon. Mm-hmm. All that was deleted. And so my initial theory with Episode 9 was that the whole Leia plot was going to be, again, the Resistance is building a super weapon to try to kill the First Order.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that because
my understanding was that maybe the Sith troopers, like the Empire, get a hold of the Resistance's weapon, and that's why they have to team up with the First Order. Or even my original thought before I even knew about the Empire coming back, or this new Empire, before I knew about it, I thought that the movie was going to be 2 super weapons, First Order and Resistance, and they have to come to a ceasefire. That's what I thought it was going to be. There was like
I remember that because in that first leak, before they called it the Starkiller base, like the super weapon that the First Order had was called like the sledgehammer.
Yeah, that's it. The sledgehammer.
Yeah, and I was like, because I remember reading it, and I was like, is this literally like a giant sledgehammer? Like, does it like hammer planets or something, or like what? And then they were like, it's a very similar weapon to the Death Star.
Yeah, because if you think there's a catapult and a sledgehammer, like it makes sense. Like they're 2 opposing weapons against each other. And I thought it would like shoot rockets of like stars, like a catapult, like fucking huge stars out of the planet or some shit. Oh, wow. What kind of movie would have this been if they kept Luke alive? Like, is there room? Is there room in this movie for Luke to be alive? Like, what would he do?
They've said too that like, because way back when George Lucas was still in control of it, somebody asked him like, who is the most powerful character in Star Wars? Is it like Palpatine? Is it Anakin, Yoda? And he was like, Luke Skywalker is the most powerful Jedi in Star Wars. The only thing that's basically stronger than him was like Abeloth, which thank God that's not canon because wow.
Yeah.
So I think that idea is still in play because he did that thing at the end of The Last Jedi, and that was like a feat beyond.
That was the most
anything.
powerful Jedi thing ever, what he did
Yeah.
in The Last Jedi. That was insane what he did in The Last Jedi. Like,
Yeah.
the problem is that what would you, if like Jedis, when they become ultra powerful, are beyond lightsabers, what purpose do they serve in the story other than being able to solve everyone's problem? Like, would Luke just be able to solve every problem if he was still alive in Episode 9? Like, he could just literally tear down a Star Destroyer with his hand.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, what?
So why wouldn't they do that?
Because he's too powerful. You know.
The only thing that would stop him, and this is why if he was still alive, they would be written into a corner. The only thing that would stop him would be the morals of being a Jedi. Like, that's not what Jedi would do. I'm not going to do that. But since in The Last Jedi, he was like, I'm not a fucking Jedi anymore, they'd be like, oh. Well.
That was, yeah. I think, like, this trilogy, like, it was always going to be hard to please people no matter what you did. Like, because there are so many Star Wars fans. I think there's, like, some were saying there's 50 million Star Wars fans. Like that's crazy. That's, like, so many people. You know, so, like, how do you please that many people? Because everybody has their own idea about Star Wars and everyone has their own sort of things they love about Star Wars. Like, there's some people who love the Empire and all that. And to me, that's not very exciting. Like, Rogue One and that, to me, isn't a very exciting time period. I don't really care about between Episode 3 and 4. I've always been interested in after Episode 6. To me, that's the most interesting time period. But we still haven't seen that.
That's why I'm excited for The Mandalorian. Because that's where that's set.
I've always, my whole life, wanted to see Luke Skywalker in his prime as a Jedi Knight. Like, after Return of the Jedi. Like, the Jedi Academy games where Luke was, like, the master of the Jedi Temple on Yavin 4. That was the most exciting stuff. Like, just knowing that he was out there being a badass and, like... But we never got to see it. So it's just so disappointing.
Did you ever read any of the like the Legends stuff now, where they go into that?
Yeah, I read like the Jedi Search, that trilogy. Yeah. I read was Cade Skywalker. It was Legacy. Was that Legacy of the Force? Or that before that one?
Oh yeah, that's like thousands of years later. Yeah. Yeah,
he was like a far descendant of Luke, and that was all interesting stuff. Where what was it? Jaina Solo had to fight.
But that's not being canon anymore, though.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. But it was good stuff, just because, like, to me, that felt like what would happen after Return of the Jedi, all that shit. It just felt like that was like.
I don't think they'll ever make a movie better than Return of the Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. Never better than Empire Strikes Back. Yeah,
it's a great movie. It is a great movie, but. You know, to me, like, the top 5 Star Wars movies are, like, Empire, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith. I don't know if I'd put any of the new ones in there. If any, I'd say Last Jedi has been the one that's been the best out of all of the new ones.
Oh, God.
I think it's the most like Revenge of the Sith than any of the others. It's the most George Lucas-y Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. Like, because you got to remember, every Star Wars movie, and I love Star Wars to death, but every Star Wars movie is 70% stupid shit, like stupid droids doing dumb stuff, and then there's 30% of this glorious, amazing, like, duels and space battles and, you know.
So was Luke supposed to? Luke in Last Jedi is supposed to be like Yoda, where it's like, you know, like throwing a lightsaber, like not a big deal, but then he's really.
If you're talking about like Yoda alive. Luke at that point was probably even beyond Yoda.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking. No. I'm not talking about powerful. I'm talking about how you have this vision of, hey, what's up, Phillip?
Hello.
You have this vision of what this Jedi Master is that's going to be training you. Like Rey probably believed like Luke is all this. Oh my God!
Yeah.
And then he just is like drinking fucking goat milk or whatever, alien milk, and throwing lightsabers, just like Yoda's this little, you know, thing, and cooking food in a thing in the hut, and it's like, what?
The only difference is where like Yoda was doing that on purpose to kind of like throw Luke off and to like kind of test him and see how he was.
Right.
Luke actually meant every single thing that he said to Rey when she found him. He was just like, "Fuck off! I'm not training you." Like,
right. No, we're having this big discussion, Phillip, about the rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, am I right in saying that you lot have seen that that supposed leak? Well, not someone put up a transcript of what they think the movie's all about.
Yeah,
I haven't even read that yet.
I've read it. You know what? I kind of like where it's going with it. When I read it, I thought I kind of like it, but some bits of it irked me a little bit. I'm like,
well, what irked you?
Well, I don't know if we're allowed to do a little bit of
spoilers.
Spoilers. Everything's spoilers.
But what I don't get, right, is that old Palpatine is hidden. Where was that place called? The unknown region, or the unknown place, right? So he's been there all. He's been there all that time, amassing all those Star Destroyers and the army and stuff. Why is he waiting so long to come back into the limelight, so to speak? If he's got all that.
Well, I think. To answer your question, Phillip, I think he's been sort of training and sort of, grooming Kylo Ren and Rey into being the perfect hosts or the most powerful Force users ever. So that their bodies would be at a point where they're the most powerful that he could possess them to basically come back completely. Whereas, he's got Kylo Ren as the supreme leader of the galaxy. So now the most powerful Force user he has in Kylo Ren, and he's, at the center of everything. So to take his body now, he's killed Snoke. So there's no leader in charge of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is the ultimate host body for him to take. So that's probably why he's waited so long, is because he needed the perfect host.
Mm-hmm. But then you've got that thing about, how Rey's very quick on the mark in the use of the Force. Have we seen her? I mean, it's like, is that the reason why she's so quick with it? Because she's connected, she's family to Palpatine, and because he's kind of Sith Lord, that she's got some of that dark power in her.
Well, the hypothesis that I put forward was, like, if she's actually a clone, which is what they're trying to tell us in The Last Jedi, apparently, and possibly at the end of this trailer with her, quote unquote, being dark, which could potentially be a clone of her. I'm saying that my headcanon is that she's probably some kind of like genetic mixture between Palpatine and Anakin, or Palpatine and Luke. And that's why because if you do, just for me anyway, and I don't really have much evidence for this, but just for me, if you start going down the checklist of things that people have asked, it all starts to make sense. Like, why is she so powerful? She's connected to Palpatine and Anakin, or Palpatine.
Okay, so that would explain away why she don't need training, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Which again, exactly. she hasn't really done anything that makes her that powerful anyway. I've always pointed that out, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Why is Anakin's lightsaber calling out to her? Well, if she's connected to Anakin or Luke, the lightsaber would be like, hey, that's basically the same person.
And she's a clone, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Why is she always conflicted with the light and the dark? Well, Anakin and Luke were always conflicted with the light and the dark.
They're not going to make it that the real Rey is evil and she's a clone of that, right?
No, I don't think that there was a real Rey. I think that when they kept saying that Rey is Rey, it's because she's actually, like, this is a totally unique person that they just cloned.
Okay.
And that scene that we see in the trailer of her being dark and in a red lightsaber, they're saying that's similar to when Luke was on Dagobah and he faced his dark self in that tree.
Right.
Yeah, I think that could be a vision. I think it's a vision or a clone. But,
yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying that's a vision. They're saying it's a vision thing, like they did with Luke.
Okay.
And the thing with R2D, CPO's red eyes, that's nothing to do with evil or anything like that. He's been upgraded to translate something that he can't translate.
Well, they just explained. You want to explain it real quick, Chris?
Yeah. So apparently, if the leak is true, which it looks like it is at this point, the object that they're going after is something called the Wayfinder.
Yeah.
Which shows them where Palpatine's fleet is in the unknown regions, and the location of the Wayfinder is apparently in at one of C-3PO's old memory banks, which is in some sort of defunct Imperial blockade.
That still doesn't make sense why it's there, though, but okay.
Exactly. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But they go there, they get the coordinates to the Wayfinder by bringing C-3PO there. But when they upload, like I guess they're trying to upload his old memory bank after they do it, they accidentally upload the memory bank of some sort of combat droid that goes nuts.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's apparently, from what I remember specifically, he steals Chewbacca's bowcaster and gets like a blaster rifle and starts fighting like these First Order stormtroopers. And when I heard that, I went back and I looked at the poster, the original poster that they released for The Rise of Skywalker. And you can see C-3PO holding the bowcaster.
But he's not shooting them, though, even though he's nuts.
He is shooting them. He's fighting the First Order, apparently.
No, but he's not shooting Chewbacca or... Like
no, because I guess what happens is like this all happens, and then like the First Order shows up, and he just is like, "Oh, I got to go into combat."
Right.
I mean, it kind of like if you jump back to what you're saying about the Wayfinder, it makes sense if there's kind of this, fleet, like there's nobody occupying these ships. There's literally just hundreds of old Imperial ships waiting in some sort of shipyard.
Well, why would nobody be in there?
No. I'm saying, but like they're basically hidden and lost, and like both sides who like we need more ships. We've got no resources to make ships. If the goal of the movie is both sides saying there's these unoccupied Star Destroyers, we have to get them to beat the shit out of the other side. That's a good plot of a movie to me. To me, that sounds good. Like the Resistance has equal reason going after them as the First Order does.
Well,
why would they have a whole army in there though? I want to understand that.
But you know what that is though. That plot. That's literally the plot of the Thrawn trilogy.
Is
the second book in the Thrawn trilogy. There's a fleet called the Katana Fleet that was hidden out in I don't think it was the unknown regions, but it was an unknown part of space. And Thrawn was like, yeah, we got to get those ships because if we get them, we can basically just destroy the New Republic. And then the New Republic was like, well, we got to get those ships because we need ships and we don't want to get destroyed by Thrawn. And they both go looking for them, and eventually Thrawn gets most of them. So this is not something new. Like this is basically just like, hey, remember that one book? That's the movie.
But how are they not getting in trouble like plagiarized? Like the people
they own Star Wars.
They own even Legends just because they actually own all of the books.
Yeah.
So nobody can complain even if they wrote that they didn't.
Not to mention that Timothy Zahn is one of their biggest writers now, so he's going to keep his mouth shut because he's got a good thing going on.
Right, of course.
I mean, it's not like I know what you're saying. Like they did just kind of copy it over, but like Star Wars itself was really just a mishmash of every like story ever told. So like it makes sense that Star Wars would borrow from a story in its own sort of world at some point.
Yeah.
It's just the problem is though is that if you're going to take the plot from that Thrawn story, you're kind of eliminating the possibility of that story ever becoming canon.
Right.
Which we all hoped it would eventually. Like, we all hoped we would get the Thrawn trilogy canonized one day, because it doesn't really... Nothing in the new trilogy negates anything that might have happened in the events of that story, particularly.
Well, no, it does, because Thrawn...
Oh, the twins...
has been doing other things now.
Okay.
He's like canon, but just not the way he used to be.
Okay.
He's another version.
But here's the thing, though. On that point, this would be their opportunity to introduce Thrawn into the movies, because if they're out there, the last time we heard that Thrawn was alive, because they said that he's still alive, him and Ezra from Rebels got like teleported somewhere out that we have no idea.
Yeah, that's true.
So my thing would be, and this is what I've always been saying, it would have been better in my mind, because I'm still not a fan of this whole Palpatine coming back thing. I never have been, and I probably never will be.
Right.
What would have made sense is fucking Thrawn shows up with this fleet, and he's like, I'm taking over now because all of you have no idea what the hell you're doing. And then he's the big villain. That would have been my thing, but...
Right. But most of the fans don't know what that is, though, right? Do all the fans know what that is? Like, don't know Thrawn or no?
Yeah,
Well, I'll
The
tell you what.
fans do. It's
It's
just
kind
the
of well
general
done.
audiences don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general don't, but most of us do. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. The fans that didn't like The Last Jedi, if you knocked on their door and said, hey, Thrawn's going to be the villain
Oh, I
of the
would be
next
happy
movie,
with that. I love Thrawn.
they would have lost their fucking minds.
I would have loved that because I love the I read the books, like the original books, Heir to the Empire, and Dark Force Rising and Last.
And the Thrawn books that Timothy Zahn is writing now, Thrawn Alliances and Thrawn Treason, are some of the best Star Wars stories you will ever read.
Right.
Hands down.
Right.
I think that that latest leak, that one on the what's the website, Star Wars Leaks, there was a assembled plot. I think that one, it's bullshit. Like Palpatine being Rey's granddad. It just seems like the guy even says that he's kind of filled in the gaps based on different things he's heard. So,
Right.
because he says like 5 times Kylo Ren dies and then reappears. I don't know if he dies. He sort of dies, but my source doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that is not very accurate.
Yeah, that's the same thing I've been reading on Reddit.
I mean, I don't think Kylo Ren dying is a very good message for the saga, because in the original ending of the saga, the main message to take away was you can be redeemed and save the day in the end. You know what I mean? So to end the whole family saga with the last Skywalker just dies a brutal death and dies a villain, what a tragic ending for the whole story. It's a terrible ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible ending. Like Luke and Leia and Han fought for all those years just so their only offspring could be killed for nothing in the end.
Right.
It's terrible. He has to survive. 100%. He has to survive.
And not to mention that if you kill Kylo Ren and like he's redeeming himself or something, I mean, this is just the Vader thing again. Like Vader redeemed himself and then he died. It's like, how many times do we go through this?
For it to be different, he has to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And come on, it would be awesome to see like Adam Driver in his 50s with a beard flying the Falcon with Chewie. Like it would be great. Like
we might. I'm sure we're gonna see.
Well, he might be the only one that comes back, because they asked Daisy Ridley and she was like, "Yeah, I'm not coming back."
Well, I thought they said that. Wait. I thought they said that to her originally, and then somebody offered money in her face, and she changed her tune.
That was a story a little while ago, but they asked her recently, and she was like, "No, I'm not coming back."
But you guys know what it's like. Like every day you wake up and like one day you're like, "That's it. I'm fat. I'm going on a diet. Nothing's going to stop me." Then the next day you get up and you go, I don't care, seriously, I like food. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Daisy Ridley, like, she could end up, like, washed up and she'll wake up one day and go, I want money because my kids need to go to school. So, like, Harrison Ford said he'd never come back and they got him back.
Listen, some days, it's true, like, some days your whole, it's like you're a different person when you wake up. Like, you'd be, do different things, right?
I mean, like, it would be great that, like, when this trilogy is all said and done, like, we can, in hindsight, we can look at it as, like, the Ben Solo trilogy. It would be a bit better than the Rey who does nothing trilogy. Like, Rey's not, I've always disagreed with everyone, though, who says that she was powerful out of nothing. Like, I have problems with Rey. Like, I think that she could fix everything and that, like, she knew how to fly everything perfectly.
It was just weird to me. I don't like that.
Anakin, I was like...
It's like them cutting corners in Alien vs. Predator and making what was the process between the facehugger and impregnating the hose? They speeded it up by like fucking instant.
She knew everything. She knew everything in the movie, and that was my problem.
Training, nothing.
When she learned the Force, to me, it made sense. It's like she tapped into the Force, and the light side needed to be as equal as the dark, so it kind of gave her this heightened sense of ability. And, she was trained with the staff from, like, the age of 5.
It should have been that Luke was training her everything. Not that she did everything and he got scared. And he's like, oh, shit. Like, he should have been training her.
They say in
the Last Jedi.
Yes.
They say in this kind of, like, link thing that she was trained by Leia as well as Luke.
She was not trained by Leia.
No, apparently in the gap between 8 and 9, Leia's been training her.
Oh, okay.
And that's that planet at the start when they're in the forest and they're hugging goodbye. Apparently, that's the start of the movie. Like that's when she throws the lightsaber through the trees and it like snaps and she catches her. That's Leia training her in the woods. And then Leia goes off on a separate mission, and that's why Leia's not really in the movie much.
Right. But she'll appear at the end, though, probably, right?
Yeah, she'll do a goodbye hug with Ben. She has to. Like, if they don't do this, I will be, like, so mad because this whole trilogy is pointless and it negates any thematic weight that any Star Wars story has ever had. If you just kill Kylo Ren and blow up the First Order, what the fuck is the point of this trilogy in the saga? It makes no...
No, women are superior.
Do you agree, though? Like, it adds nothing to the story.
I agree.
Yeah.
What's the point of the whole trilogy? There's no point.
Right.
It adds nothing to the Skywalker story. It's just 3 extra movies where they repeated the events of the originals. That's all it is.
That's all it is. You're right. Because even this one...
It has to end on a good note for everybody.
Right.
That's why I think you add Richard E. Grant as like the Imperial, undercover agent, and you add the Emperor back in the mix with the Sith
trilogy. You really think Matt Smith is gonna like really give like 100,000,000% knock it out?
Yeah. I think he's gonna do great. If that's his voice
Hang
in
on,
that
trailer,
saying,
are you saying that Matt Smith is actually definitely in Star Wars now?
He's definitely
he is.
in it.
He's in it, definitely.
He's the Emperor.
Because he looks like the Emperor, or he has a Knights of Ren helmet on. What are they going to show you of him? It's a spoiler if they show Matt Smith at all.
Matt Smith's the Emperor.
Well, that's what I'm confused about. So if they're having that bloke who plays the Emperor as he is decrepit and old,
no, the voice.
Yeah, he's not in it. That's why they used the toy picture of him on the poster.
That makes I get that. Okay.
Because
He's not in the.
He might show up in like maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but most of the time it's apparently going to be Matt Smith portraying him because he's been possessed.
Oh.
Well, it is a good twist too, because a lot of people are going to be expecting to see the Emperor and they're not going to see him, and then it's going to go, oh hey, I was here the whole time, and it's actually Matt Smith.
Yeah.
So it's a twist for people expecting to see the Emperor.
Right. I hope he does knock it out of the park. I mean, he's already going to have a huge role in Doctor Strange too. So.
What is he in that?
Yeah.
Where did you hear that?
He's Nightmare.
When did that get announced?
6 months ago, maybe.
Was that official?
I don't think it was official. I think it was just like it was like a rumor that caught fire for a little while.
Wait. This is what I wanted to talk. Can we end this Star Wars thing soon? We'll let Chris and Phillip chat. We got to get on to Spider-Man. We got to get on to Spider-Man at some point.
I mean, Chris, you going to bed or what are you doing?
No, I'm off tomorrow.
All right, so we could just create another everything show and talk about Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire in the house.
All right, we're gonna end this now. All right, thank you guys. Take care. Bye for now.